Well, joining me at the mining investment event now is Ivan Fairhall. You're the CEO of Pivotal Metals. Ivan, thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Wonderful, thanks for having me.
So lots to talk about, very quickly, about where Pivotals are going and what it's doing. But what do you make of the event so far? I mean, these are good gatherings for the industry, isn't it?
It's my first time at this event, and actually really impressed. There's lots of companies, but from our perspective, what's really valuable is clearly there's a lot of investors in the room. And that's what we really want to see. We want to see interest and liquidity in the sector, and I think you're seeing that here in the room today.
When you're after that now, you're going to really showcase what you're all about, all right? You're here in Quebec. You've got your big one up in Quebec there. That's the Horden Lake. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so look, Horden Lake's a fantastic project, and we've delivered on a number of important technical milestones in the last 3 months, and you've now got the ability to look at that project and see what the real opportunity is. We've done geophysics, which has laid out a really large-scale exploration upside. We've done metallurgical test work, which is something that's been lacking on the project and is very important for a polymetallic deposit. And then we've updated the resource. We've taken all that information and updated our resource estimate, and we've got this fantastic, very large-scale, high-grade open pit project. So it's a scalable copper project, open pittable in Quebec, with a lot of exploration upside. It's really all coming together.
And I want you to tell me what you're exploring for, but let's just talk about copper. You don't see a copper mine every single day to go ahead and buy it, right? Because these are scarce. Tell us a little bit about how you got around that.
Yeah, so look, my background, I'm an engineer. I come from a project development background, and I spent a lot of time in private equity. And I was part of a fund. We had about $500 million. And we looked all over the globe for all types of mining projects, and we really got onto this copper narrative because the more we looked for projects that are developable, that have manageable capital intensities, there's really not that many copper projects around that are in good locations, don't have multi-billion dollar capex associated with them. And so when I left the fund and I was looking at opportunities to do on the personal basis, that's what really attracted me to this project. There's a project that can be built. It's got it's majority copper, and there's really not that many projects to feed into that pipeline of projects for the next copper mines of the future.
You're sitting around the table. You've got your colleagues around with you. Obviously, the projection of what's happening with copper price comes up in conversation. What's your forecast?
Look, the only way is up, and I don't sort of say that flippantly. It's the great thing about copper is that it's a supply-demand equation, right? Demand is only going in one direction. You've got so many tailwinds about demand, not just from the new age, electrification, AI. That's obviously a huge opportunity, but the majority of the copper demand in the next 20 years is coming from traditional sources. And so you've got this huge base with stable sort of drivers behind it, with all this upside in terms of electrification and the rate at which that comes up. So there's no question around the demand side is going up. And then when you go to actually look at the projects that can deliver into that pipeline of new production, you realize there's very few. They're taking longer to develop, they're lower grade, and all of those things are going to drive up the cost curve. And that means higher prices and the potential for disconnect. You get the cost curve is going to increase, so prices are just going to go up. And where it could get really exciting is where you get this disconnect from demand and supply, and then you have these lift-off price scenarios, and that's that's all real upside.
Yeah. All right. So you spoke of Horden Lake. Tell us about the Lorraine prospect. What are you looking for there?
Yeah. So we've got, in addition to Horden Lake, which is sort of in the north of Quebec, south of Noranda, we've got a very large exploration project that we collectively call BAGB. We've just put out some exploration results on our Lorraine project, so we've got some bonanza-grade gold target that we're working on at Lorraine. The rest of our BAG project has some literally sort of world-class nickel-copper PGM mineralization. Now, what's been discovered there have been small, but the strength of that mineralization that we see, that tells us where there's a really intense system, and so it makes it a very, the distribution of the discoveries, the intensity of them, and the large scale makes it extremely prospective to make new, potentially world-class discoveries. And so that's a really exciting earlier stage opportunity for investors to get exposure to, in addition to having a lot of value underwritten in the company with the Horden Lake deposit, which is obviously, tons of copper in the bank.
And in Fairhall, thanks very much indeed for talking to us.